Recce Pharmaceuticals' US-based board members are visiting Australia again in the wake of the company's very encouraging Phase 1 clinical trials of its new anti-infective medication R327. Executive Chairman Dr. John Prendergast and Non-Executive Director Dr. Alan Dunton are with me now. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Now, Alan, it was thumbs up for the Phase 1 study. No serious adverse events.
Not only were there no serious adverse events, there were absolutely no changes from pre-dose to post-dose in all of the laboratories that we evaluated. Also, electrocardiograms didn't change, cardiac telemetry, basically any assessment. The only thing we saw was a small bit of tingling at the infusion site as the drug was being infused at the higher doses. But other than that, we didn't really note anything of significance.
Does this pave the way now for R327 to be trialled with less healthy patients?
Absolutely. We will be doing a study in patients with urinary tract infections. And why are we going to that indication? It's because what we did note in the first trial is that the drug concentrated significantly in the urine. So with that in mind, we decided the first test for a clinical indication would be urinary tract infection. But what we're doing is we're doing one other study before we go directly to patients, and that's we're giving faster administration of doses that we tested in the first trial that I discussed. Why is that? You can get even higher levels of the drug in the bladder with faster infusions, and you could treat all of the bacteria that may be found in the urinary tract in patients infected. This way, when we start the actual patient study, we'll have nailed it in terms of the dose range that's effective, the rate of administration, and the concentration of the drug to administer most effectively.
And what's also important is that we've tested bacteria being killed by Recce 327 in urine samples ex vivo already. So this gives us a lot of confidence about designing this study, but the study to follow. So we're in a very, very good position, and this study is underway. So we hopefully be able to get to that really first human therapeutic efficacy study in the not too distant future based on these results.
Is that what brings you to Australia this time around?
So Recce is based in Australia. We're also visiting potential sites for our clinical trials in Australia, both around Perth, around Sydney, and other parts of Australia, that they will collaborate with us to show the efficacy and safety of our product.
Alan, you've brought other medications to market throughout your career. How do you feel about the progress by Recce with this new anti-infective?
First of all, there's a dire need for new products to treat bacterial infections. There's been a real drought of approvals. There's been a few, but a real drought. So yes, I've been involved in taking antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals to the marketplace. So this is really refreshing for me to be doing that today. And the profile of this drug is absolutely perfect because it really sets a new paradigm, especially against resistant organisms, because we're such a novel structure and a novel mechanism of action. So it's going to open a whole new world for treatment of bacterial infections.
John, do these results align with the company's expectations?
Well, they align very, very well. And most importantly, they align very, very well with external parties. And so what we've experienced over the last couple of years is interest, but at a certain minimal level, by large global pharmaceutical companies, because the anti-infective space hasn't been a very productive area in terms of revealing new products. However, during the last 12 months, as we've gone into our Phase 1 trial, started planning for this other trial, we're seeing significant interest from a number of global pharmaceutical companies, so much so that they are now putting diligence teams on us to monitor our progress very, very specifically. So we're very encouraged by that. And I think that speaks to the progress in our development programs across the board.
What is happening with the anti-infective space globally?
Well, we're very encouraged by several recent acquisitions during the course of the last 12 months, Sonia. Spiro was acquired by Glaxo for over $500 million. And more recently, Paratech was acquired by Novo Holdings at the same price level. So this has been really encouraging for any young anti-infective companies such as us with early development, clinical development. If we are able to prove out the concept, which we are very confident of doing, we know that there's now renewed interest. And more importantly, we are being followed actively by two other pharmaceutical companies, global pharmaceutical companies as we speak.
Now, before we go, Alan, we're more than halfway through the calendar year. What can investors expect for the rest of 2023?
For the rest of this calendar year, they can expect us to start or announce the start of a actual patient study in urinary tract infection using the intravenous formulation. They can also expect some additional work that's to be done and studies announced using topical formulations, either a spray of a liquid or a new gel that we've developed as well moving forward. And that is close to my heart, having worked extensively in diabetic foot ulcer infection, which has very significant morbidity and mortality. And we're moving along in that type of trial. And there's also a study that had been completed in burn infection as well. And as you can imagine, that has significant morbidity and mortality. We've also had interest from the Department of Defense in the United States in burn injury and infected burn wounds, as you can imagine, in the war theater. This is a very significant problem.
And we've applied for several grants, one of which we've already passed the first level. So we're very confident. We've been invited to submit another grant to another part of the defense agencies in the United States. We have been awarded a presentation slot at a Department of Defense conference in Orlando, Florida. This also speaks to the fact that the possibilities for Recce's platform not only involve just the warfighter, but also veteran affairs, those that have suffered and are now continuing to suffer from wound injuries in the course of their service to the country.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. John Prendergast and Dr. Alan Dunton from Recce Pharmaceuticals.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.